Art Allen here. Thanks everybody for watching and listening. Today we are talking about a wonderful Netflix show. It's been out for a little bit, Inside Man, and we're chatting with one of the stars, Atkins Estimond, opposite Stanley Tucci. I mean, this cast is just phenomenal and such a great show. And for people who haven't watched it, get on board. You've got the holidays coming up, plenty of time to watch and to binge. It's a very easy watch. Atkins, thanks for your time. It's a pleasure to meet you.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me on.
Well, this is a great show, and I love your character. He is the best. I mean, this relationship that you have on screen with Stanley, they always say, if an actor is good, you can't tell that they're acting, if that makes sense. But you two together, your dialogue, your interaction, your responses are just, it's like you could be watching like a real conversation happening in real life. Let's talk about this experience for you, because this show is just fantastic.
Yeah, thank you so much. Working on the show was an amazing experience. Stanley Tucci is just an amazing actor, but also just a great person. So, coming in, I was just like super excited, but also pretty nervous because, working with an actor at his level is, you never know what's going to happen. And I'm like, I was excited, but also I just didn't know what to expect. And also the project, shot over in the UK, and that was my first time being there. So the entire experience was wonderful, but also, just a lot of new things. But when I got there, it almost immediately, all of my, nervousness or whatever was gone, because the entire crew, everyone was so kind. And it was just, I couldn't have asked for a better time working on a project. And Stanley was just so cool, and not to take him down, but he was just so normal in so many ways that it made me feel easier. Like I came in, thinking like, oh, I gotta really be on top of it and be, on, just putting all this pressure on myself. And then I sit down and we start having conversations, and I realize he's a person just like anyone else. And I think that got me into a place that made me very comfortable and made me get deeper into my own work, because I wasn't worried about anything, and I was just there basically just playing, just fully involved in that experience. So I have nothing but good things to say about the whole experience working on the show, the team, Paul McGowan, everyone over at Hartswood Films. Everyone was so kind and accommodating to me, and just giving me the space to feel comfortable to create and to, have input on things with the character, really giving me the freedom and to take ownership of that character, which I think for any actor is huge, especially for a character like that.
Yeah.
I feel like you have to be willing to really put your hooks in it and really try to play. So, and they created the perfect playground for that. So it was amazing.
Yeah. I mean, your character is just so chill and so relaxed, but yet so serious.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that the whole thing is amazing, but one of the things that I really liked was in the first couple episodes, I think it might've been the first, where he's presented with a case. He says no immediately because he already knows why, because it has to meet certain standards. Mm-hmm. And you guys are playing this guessing game back and forth, and it's just very like, I don't even know how to describe it. You're like, well, so this and this and that and that. And he's all, nope, think about it, Do you know what I'm saying? Like, your character is just so chill and just like the huge, very massive compared to him, but also like one of the kindest and could be most caring prisoners on death row. As your character ate somebody or ate a couple people, which I think even made it more funny. And two, Stanley, people are obsessed with him. When he joined TikTok, I think during COVID, and started filming things about cooking and stuff, people are obsessed with this guy because he is just so nice. And I also understand that when he works with other actors too, he tries to familiarize himself with their work too, and very accommodating in that way. It's like, oh wow, I really enjoyed this work. But that's cool when you can work with somebody like that and just feel
Mhm.
so comfortable. Because I don't know, it would be nerve wracking, I think.
Absolutely. Like I said, coming in, I had a lot of pressure, and nobody put pressure that I put on myself. Um, because this is a big project, and you're working. I was working, pretty much the whole time I shot. I worked with Stanley Tucci every day. So coming in, I'm sitting there like, oh my God, like, what is this gonna be? And also being like, I gotta really step it up because I'm gonna be acting opposite somebody who, like you said, is a much beloved actor, and also rightfully so because he's really, really good.
Yeah, he's very
Um,
talented. You are too, by
Super
the way.
talented. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. But coming in, I'm just like, initially I'm just like, I'm trying to just bring something to this and add what I can to this project. And but like I said, the moment I sat down with him, and anytime we weren't filming, we talked, I think those conversations had having that time helped with that ease in the conversation that you talk about, because uh the comfort level and the ease, I think, came with, or really grew from, our real connection that we were having. I feel like we had lots of conversations, and not necessarily deep stuff, but just conversations about every old kind of thing. And I think that kind of laid the groundwork for the characters to have the sort of that real tangible tether between them, that felt as if you had seen people who had been locked up with each other for quite some time and kind of going through these things. The story is what it is, and we kind of have to manufacture those relationships, but it helps when I think it helps when you have something real to kind of pull from. So I definitely think that helped, having the time in between to kind of chat and just kind of really try to grow some sort of foundation for that relationship.
Well, it comes across very well, and it's just a fun story to watch. Keeps you guessing the entire time throughout the series, and even the ending is quite surprising. Uh, and just again, the dynamic between you two, even down to the very smallest facial gestures and all of that. I think that's a good testament to great acting on both parts. Where did the storytelling journey begin for you? What was that like? Was it in high school? Were you an extrovert, an introvert? Did you do theater? Where did it all start?
I started when I was a kid. I was very much like, kind of a class clown, always kind of trying to entertain people. So I would say at its earliest would be, just being a little kid, doing, if it was like doing a goofy dance to get somebody to laugh, I would do it. But at the same time, I also could be very shy, so I liked to entertain when I wanted to, kind of on my terms. But it's not like I was in every facet of my personality was I so outgoing.
Got it.
Um, I definitely, I did theater in high school, all the way through. I mean, I really enjoyed it. But when I graduated, I wasn't on that path. But it's something that I eventually kind of came back to. But to get back to the answer of that, like, yeah, since I was a little kid, I've always been, I've always enjoyed making people laugh and entertaining people. And I think that kind of grew and manifested into what it is today.
Yeah, and you've got a great body of work. So, is there one key project for you that stands out where you knew that maybe not solidifying the business because it's so crazy, but for you, knowing, hey, I'm doing this, I'm an actor, and this world is definitely meant for me?
Gosh, I've been very fortunate in my career to work on a lot of really special projects.
Yeah.
And you know what? I will say that the first movie I ever booked was Dumb and Dumber 2.
Yeah.
And
I remember that.
yeah, that I think probably was definitely a turning point for me because, it was 20 years from that first movie, and I grew up watching that movie. So to be a kid watching Jim Carrey and Jeff Daniels and just loving that film, to then you fast forward and I'm an adult and now I'm a part of the universe in some facet. It was that, I think that moment when I found out I booked that, I was just like blown away. Like I couldn't believe it. Like when you get an audition for a lot of things as an actor and you're like, it'd be cool to work on that. Like that'd be a great project. I'd love to do that. But you never know because I do tons of auditions that I never hear back about. So,
Right.
and up to that point, I had done tons of auditions that I had never heard back about. So when my reps called me and told me I got the role, I was just like shocked. I almost had to be like, are you guys kidding? It just seemed like something that was just too far away. But it worked out and it was an amazing experience. And I definitely feel like after that, I was like, okay, I think I can do this. I think maybe I can do this. So that was definitely a very pivotal moment for me.
Wow. And the rest is history. I mean, here we are. You're part of this project. I know you have other things you're working on. And
Mm-hmm.
again, just to have that fortitude to keep going, I think is what makes people survive versus not surviving this industry. Because if you go in it for the fame and fortune, you will not last very long.
No,
Even some of
as
the greatest are like, I still have to pay the bills. And that's one of the things I
yeah,
found so fascinating about as I talk to people is like the very select few are very select and very few that can really pick and choose and do this or do that. But really to be a working actor, a blue collar working actor, and just creating great content, I think will make you survive. That's the vibe I get from most people because otherwise you're screwed, so to speak, because you will not last because it is
no,
tough.
it is hard. And you're right. You're absolutely right. I think that if you're in it to get famous or for money, there are plenty of other ways that you can do that and much
Yeah.
faster than this path.
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah. Like
Yeah. So
I
I
could
was
think of
like,
three or four offhand right now. It's like,
absolutely. And I just feel like it has to be something that you're passionate about because so much of the time you're hearing no or not anything at all.
yeah.
So if I tell people like I was like, if you can take the worst of what this industry can offer and you keep wanting to do it, then you're in the right place. And I felt like that's what it was for me because I had some tough times. And I was like, there was definitely some times where I was like, am I doing the right thing? Should I be doing this? Like, am I kidding myself? All these sort of, things start to creep in your mind. But right alongside that, I was like, I still want to do that. Every time I had a thing pop up where I was just like, oh, this is so just demoralizing, I still wanted to do it. Like, I never was just like, I could never let it go. So that told me that I was like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. Yeah.
And the rest is history. Congratulations on all of your success. It's very well
Thank you.
deserved. 100%. Inside Man, available streaming now on Netflix, not the Denzel vehicle. um,
Having to clear that up a lot.
I was going to ask you as side of a sidebar a little bit because, yeah, I mean, there's like different universes of that.
Mm-hmm.
And even at the beginning, when I saw this on Netflix, I started just digging out of curiosity. I was like, are these worlds somehow related? And it's like, no, they're like completely different. But
Yeah.
this stands on its own. Obviously, that's funny. I bet in a lot of press, you've been asked that a lot, or people want to know, is this somehow related in a web
Every time I
internet?
tell people, I'm like, yeah, the show. They're like, I'm working on a show, or I got this show out, and they're like, what is it? And I'm like, it's Inside Man, and they immediately think of the Denzel Washington thing, and I'm like, no, it's not that. But there's also, I think, another series like on the BBC or from the UK that's also called The Inside Man,
Yeah, very
and
similar to
so
this
people think,
a little bit too. Yeah,
yeah, yeah. So it is, there's some clearing up that has to happen.
that's
But
funny.
now that it's out and it's on, I think more people are seeing it. But before, I would talk to my friends before it came out, And they're like, I heard you're working on something new. And I'm like, yeah, it's called The Inside Man. And they were like, every time the Denzel Washington thing, they're like, they're making a sequel. And I'm like, no, this is a completely different thing. Just same name.
I mean, I'll be honest. At first, I thought it was like a Netflix series, which I thought was cool. But then I was like, oh, this is way different and just as good, if not better, honestly. Atkins, thank you for your time. It's been a true pleasure meeting you and chatting with you today. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
100%.